we got a Super C. And they say duct tape is your friend right there. Rotted bunk. All the way from the fine Constitution state of Connecticut. Alright. You can see this whole bunk is all rotted out. That's already peeling apart right there. And this is coming apart so bad. That's a strap. It's a ratchet strap that they use to hold it. But you see all this is all rotted. You know, all this is, when we open it up, I'll show you even more. And then got a lot of rot. This seems okay. As you work your way down, all the way down here is rotted. Right here. And this probably came from this awning. I'll bet it come down from there. Now, I don't know how much more of the sidewall there is rotted, but I mean, you can clearly see that bubble right there. And then there's another bubble down there. So look at that. So we're probably gonna have to cut it up, you know, maybe about a foot up is more likely. So there's a blue tape, that's more D-lam right there. And needs a roof. Waiting for him to put the scaffold together, but I figured I'd do a walk around the bottom side. That's a big old dropout tailgate. So we got more tape on here. It is all D-lam here, and this one stretches up a little higher up on the side. I'll go around the front again. I'll take another look at it from there. I can squeeze through there easier. You get all that. So I got to fix that. Like I said, right here, I showed you all that already. And these screws come right out. They actually fell out. The door is probably going to come off. And then we got some more all around here. Is what we got to look at. See how much more damage we got in here. You can see that up here on the bunk. That whole bunk is gone. I don't know how bad it is once we take the gutter and everything off over there. But as we come around, we got right here, that's blowing out. And what I don't like about this is there's a frame that runs up underneath the slide out, and I'm hoping that's not rotted, because that's going to be a task. This is all soft right in here. You see our stripes of tape. We went around and kind of got an idea of what we had going on for rot. So we're going to have to stage it up, get the roof off, see what's going on. Once we get the roof off, then it's easier to see a lot of stuff. Let's see if we open these slide outs too and check all that. See what we're in for. Watch this. Go back! Look at there. Go back out! I think we got a little problem there. That's good! That's what it is. That's what caused it to pop and breach out. We'll get it fixed. All right, bring it in. Ian! Gotta have this thing running. There you go, that's good. All right, let's take a look-ski. We got this here, this broke right there. You can see it right here. All split. So, my concern as we fix this here is the other side got to blast out, and then the other one up here, is that going to compromise? So I don't even know what we're dealing with, but what I do know is that I can't see any rollers up here, which is a lot of weight rolling somewhere. And this roller that was on this side, that one there wasn't actuating when we got up in the inside and looked at it. So I want to pull this thing out. We're going to jerk it. I hate pulling slides. I will just say that right up. I really don't like to. But in this case, I think it's just a smart thing to do, because we're doing a lot of work, like a grand amount of work on this coach. A lot of this is all D-lammed, like a vast majority of it's all D-lammed. On the other side, D-lammed. The whole roof, you got to do the bunk. So it doesn't make sense to just not pull the slide because it's already compromised, and make sure that we get that corrected. Get the rollers in there that we need. Make sure those are operating properly, and then we can pop her back in, and you never have any trouble with it. The other thing we're going to do is I'm going to put a metal roof up on the slide out. When I get it out, it doesn't make sense. It's right in my face. So I'm going to put a metal roof on it, and then you don't have to worry about the membrane, you know, breaking free or whatever, breaching out. So that's what I'm looking at right now. And they're inside trying to free up there's a fascia trim on the inside. We're going to free all that up. A couple other little mechanisms we got to take apart. And then we're going to check it. But see, now this is welded. And that's what it is. See, on the other side, you can see it's ripped. Yeah, no, I just busted my finger. Then if I use this one, it doesn't look so good. I use this one here. See, that used to be my ring finger right there. And now it's all... once you get married, you can't even use that finger anymore. Anyhow, right here, this one is already showing, like this part is pushed out. And this one just doesn't look right. It looks like it almost wants to roll. It looks like it's already curving, you know, like that. So I want to check all this. If it was mine, this is the way I would do it. Like you said, with all the work that we're doing, I want to get it done right. Alright, so let's move along. Alrighty, we have got the slide out. There it be. Boom. Took it out with our big deucing. So we get that out. These are the rollers that I was talking about right here. They just, and I'm trying to roll that. It's all kind of bound up. So we may, and it's awful, very loose. These screws aren't even set in. This is loose. Everything is loose. You know, this is an, I think an 03, so it stands a reason. I mean, you're going to have some age and wear and all that stuff for sure. So let's see if we can't get us some new rollers. That is not rolling smooth at all. It's like rolling, like it binds up. So we don't want that to happen. So we're going to probably have to take out the frame here, and on the other side as well. Take out, this is our frame that pulls and pushes the slide. But I want to check all this right here, like I was telling you on this one. And then we'll see what's going on with it after we get all the framing out. And we got a lot of siding to cut anyway, so at this point it doesn't matter. We just need to make sure everything's all set. This I don't like. Like I said, this one's got kind of a curve to it like that. And that tells me that there's a lot of pressure on here. So I don't know how we'll do it. We may reinforce it with some steel instead. I don't know. We'll figure it out here in a little bit. That's for sure. Alright, well, we got that much done. On to the next. So on this slide out here, this is already starting to curl right here. It's already starting to roll. And that's what I was suspicious of. That's why I wanted to pull the slide. I can't see what's going on the top of it. But we're going to go do a quick on the roof. And I'll do a quick on the roof, and then we'll have to get back to this because we got to reframe all this. Put some rod underneath the floor here. We got that. And then I also want to see how this is all, how they assembled it. Because really, you need more strength to carry the way they did this whole thing. We got a slight sag because the elevation you can see is dropped right here. It's kind of level right here, but it's already dropped a little bit, and that's from that push it down. So I want to see what they got for cross members going across, you know, inside rather. So they have to add more strength to it. So just looking at this, you can see, you know, they had some issues with the window around the corner mold here going around. Had issues everywhere on this thing. I think I already went over some of that. I don't know if I went over the roof yet, but I'll do it. And then this thing came all over. Well, this is what we got. Big old mess. We got all that. Looks like someone, you know, that membrane isn't all so bad. Like, to me, it feels like it's a pretty thick membrane. But you can see someone's already, to me, it looks like they've already tried to redeck this thing. So, see all the tape around there? Obviously, you got tape on the top. If you don't have curbs, this is what happens. You know, they want you to just keep putting more on, keep slobbering all that stuff on there. I don't know if you can see what I'm looking at, but this has got a nice belly right here. Right in there. Already dropped. So we got to see what's going on with that. And then don't do this. That is stupid. So any moisture and water that gets up inside there, it can't get out now. It's trapped in there. They did them all. So maybe we can get a moron award. Moron of the Year award. And give it to the person who did this. Look at all the slobbering they did over there. Everything's all slobbered on there. That's their, you know, their idea of trying to make things watertight. But they don't work. See? When this fractures, see there? Water will get in there. This is a sensor for the the awning right here. So we'll retract in. It's just a wind sensor. So you can see right here. That's just with my finger. But you know, I'm doing some finger curls right there. You can see that muscle working. That's a powerful finger. So it may not be just a caulk. Maybe I should go in so they could test that. I'll just be a tester. See how strong their caulking is. Get paid for that instead. It'd be a lucrative job. But see how that see how that just comes right up. That's just that butyl putty crap. So this here will be relocating this to go back up underneath if she doesn't replace that. Look at that here. I mean, that's just, you're just trapping water in there. That's all you're doing. There's a bubble right in here on the roofing, but it does have this from side to side. It's got a dip down inside there as well. More of this tape. That doesn't even stick. So let me put some of this booger on here. This is pressure sensitive tape that they use on EPDM. This already breaking loose right here. Obviously the lights are all, you can see all the caulking is all compromised. We'll replace all those lights anyways with LEDs. That's what we'll do. Nobody wants to get up here and change bulbs. I'll put some nice LEDs on there. And we got some cracks all along here. So it's needs some love, that's for sure. You can see that now. Yeah, that's pretty prominent. And that belly in there behind the AC. I'm sure I'm gonna have to jack this roof up. More than likely I have to reframe it too, if it's what I'm suspecting. I'm just suspecting this to be basically a ply foam roof. It may have some batten insulation, but they probably just got 2x2s running across. That's my guess. Wow. Oh, well, hopefully you can see that one. That is crazy bad, that one there. That whole air conditioner is just tilted down. Probably need to get you a straight edge so I can show you. Look at there's a straight edge over there. I don't know if that won't work. I don't see that piece very well. But a board would, any board or anything like that. I was just showing how, look at how much of a sag there is in here. That's all I was showing. So that's more of this stuff loosening up. Right here. Like I said, more of that on there. Right here. It's just, that's the way you do it. You can see the whole thing is just a mess. And also, all that water got down here. I've got DLAM here. How that doesn't sound solid. You can hear it kind of, yeah, there you go. Look there. See that gap under there? That's quite a bit. Well, within 2 feet. You know. Well, we'll straighten all that stuff. That's what we do. That's what we do. That's why she brought it here. She knew she had some problems with all this too. And I don't think she realized the problem with the slide out. We've already informed her of that. So well, let us get to work, tear this thing apart, and we'll show you more as we go along like we usually do. All right, so this little piece here, this is the rubber mat that goes in the inside of the cab, and this just holds it down. But just from trying to, right here, just trying to loosen it up, you can see that dimple in there. The floor just caves in. This is all rotted. That's why I'm taking this up. So this is sank, and these big rams that they had here to push out the slide out were sitting on here, and all that weight is what's causing all this thing to kind of fall apart. All of it's kind of working loose. So we're going to take that up, find out how far rotted we are back here. I also got to see what kind of framing there is up underneath here, and so I can straighten that out. Some more rot. This is on the rear side of this slide. This is a rear part of this slide right up in here. The water heater is right up underneath there. So, and that's all rotted. So, I don't know. I may have to take the cabinet out. See how far back it goes. I'm going to see if I can work it from underside without taking it out if I can prevent it. So, and then over here, let me scoot in here real quick. Oh, this is all rotted. There's that corner that I was just working. It's all rotted in there. This is our new frame for our slide out. Steel. You get those scissors, those scissor jacks that they got in there for the slide. They're just pretty. They are pretty strong. I mean, they're really strong and they're heavy. So I think all of this contributed to it. I don't think it was just one thing. So put a nice bead down here. and we cleaned it up. I actually did 2 fillets on it. I got another one up underneath. What a fillet is, you do one, and then you come back, clean it up, and you do another. So I did them on all of them, and then I just cleaned them up because, you know, we got to put siding on it. So I got them all polished down, and then we're going to put a coat of paint on this. So that's the way it should have been done. But we did, you know, I did both sides, inside, around. That's the way you should do it, especially in these aluminum frames. And I've showed it time and time again where they just put a little zap, and that's it. I call them snot welds. They're tack welds, but I call them snot welds. So you can weld to the inside, like I said, in here. You don't want this thing racking around. I mean, these coaches move around so much. It's just a matter of time before they pop, and that's what we see here. So, you know, she brought it in. She said, I don't want to have any more problems with this coach. I said, great. So, and I'm glad I pulled the slide out. I was really reluctant to do it. I didn't want to, you know, add any extra, you know, fees or bill, whatever you want to call it, pad anybody's wallet. But the more and more I kept looking at it, I said, I'm like real certain that we're going to have more problems in there. So you saw all the rot we had in there and so forth. So I'm glad I did pull it out because, again, she said, do it like it's yours. If it was mine, I'd at least want to know the rollers were bad, the rot was in there. There's a whole bunch of problems with it. So again, like I said, we got all this ready, and then the last thing we're going to do that slide out is I'm going to put a metal roof on it, and we'll be done with that. Then we still got to address the rot, and also some of the framing in the floor itself, like in the floor. You can see the coach over there. You can see a couple of pieces in there. I'm going to strengthen up just so when it comes across, the rollers will have more meat on them. That's really what I'm going to do. So for that reason. And then that aluminum piece was at the bottom. I'll walk back over there instead of zooming up because the camera gets all shaky. I don't have all that fancy stuff. I'm just trying to show, you know, what's going on so people can learn and people can know what's up. But, you know, I see some videos and I go, boy, that's awful jazzy. Drones and all this fancy stuff. Tripods even. But I was talking about, I was like, right in here, I'll probably put another one. At least right in here. I got to pull this plywood up, well, this OSB. I'll pull that up. I got one here. So I just want to make sure I got enough strength going across. And if I can maintain that somehow, that would be great. You know, all that. But they had this. This is what they had for the aluminum plate on the bottom. It's just basically a doubler is what they did when they molded it. And it still didn't have enough. You can see that one there. I showed you that earlier. That was what triggered me to pull everything else out. So we cut up against a cabinet. It was rotted up in there, but that doesn't look so bad. So I'm going to try and see if I can do some surgery up underneath, or when I pull this, I got to pull all this off anyways, and I got to pull this out and cut this. So I may just go back a little bit more, and then I can get some strength up underneath the cabinet without having to take the whole thing out. You know, I'd much rather do that than tear apart the interior. You know, help the job go along a little better. If it was absolutely necessary, I'd tear it out. But any little bit that's down here, this is all just cosmetic. So that's something you can put wallpaper on. You can clean that up. And probably not going to see most of it anyways with the slide, but I guess when the slide is open, you'll see some of it. But anyhow, that's just all cosmetic stuff. And then this is rotted too. This is right behind. You can see there's the access from the cab to come back in here. And it's, this piece looks well, but when you come over here, all down here, all of this is all rotted. So I won't be able to get any screws in there. See, all that's already flaking off. And I don't know if that's fair because, you know, I got these unusually strong fingers. So tearing all this out. But, you know, we'll have to take that out, and I got to rebuild that. We still got the bunk, and I mean, there's so much work to do. You can see the wave. Look at that ceiling panel up there. Woo! And it's, so obviously got some issues. And then the roof itself is a ply foam roof. I think I showed you that. It's a ply foam roof. And somebody tried to just redeck it with decking, hoping that would hold it together, but they just didn't do it right. So, like I said, we'll get her all back together. It's just a time-consuming job, that's for sure. That's why who's ever watching this video, if you're up on deck, on our board, you know, we run into this stuff that we don't know until we open it up. I wasn't really expecting to pull a slide out. I was expecting to try to do some delam, but now it's just, you know, like a dog chasing its tail. I got a lot of work, you know, that was kind of beyond what I really thought. So just be patient with us. I want to get it done right for her. I'm not going to try to push this out just for the sake of getting somebody else in here. We don't do that. We're not a numbers game like that. We want to make sure we do it right, get it done right, So she's done. She don't have to come back for, hey, I got a problem here, I got a problem there. I don't like that. I wouldn't like it if I brought it to a shop. You bring it somewhere and they rush you out, and then you got to go back. You go, hey, you know, it doesn't do this or that, you know, or whatever, you know. But the slide out was the main thing that, like I said, I'm glad I pulled it out. All right, let me get to work and quit rambling. All right, this is an 03, this huge Super C. So somebody has obviously tried to redeck this. So what they did is they stapled all of this. Hold up there, yeah. All this all stapled. They stapled that to this 3/8 plywood. They screwed the 3/8 plywood to this 1/8 inch. This is called a ply foam roof. See all the foam in there? So that isn't going to hold anything. The way this thing has been framed, we get somebody at the factory marked them out here, but even this isn't hitting. It's on that side. Maybe one may have gotten in there. But then you come down here. There's the end of the plywood. That's screwed into the 1/8 inch. So that's what probably caused this big sag right here. That is a terrible sag. I mean, that's quite a bit. But we got to jack this whole thing up. We probably got to reframe this roof. That's what it's looking like. So, much like we've done the others, and give it some camber and give it some strength, because there is not enough strength in this thing. So that's what we're doing now, is taking all this. Got to obviously get the roof off and get all that squared away. We had to take the awning off. Probably take these arms off too. And then that's where we're at so far. Well, I like to show some of this stuff as we get going. This is a fleece back. This material is really not a bad material. This is called a fleece back. The roofing itself, but it feels more like a PVC to me. TPO is a little different. It's kind of slick, but nonetheless, without your curbs or anything, it's going to leak. Doesn't matter what you do. You use great, even the membranes we use, which is TPO. If you don't put the curbs on there, they're going to leak. So, but that's how they did it. They took the glue on right here, and then they got the plywood right there, and then that's screwed down into the 1/8 inch on there. That doesn't make sense at all. But this is what people do out there. You know, these people who try to do all these coaches and stuff, you see all these channels, and you look at it when it's done, you go, wow, that looks great. Well, anything new is going to look great. You look at it and you go, hey, that looks great. I've seen them build decks, and people go, hey, you read the comments, that looks terrific, that looks great. Yeah, it's new. Of course it's going to look great. So, you know, it's the after effects like this where you realize the workmanship was shoddy, and they didn't know what they were doing. You can see obviously all the rot there. So we're going to omit this window too. We're going to take that off. It's all ready to come off. Look at there. There you go. So I already built the radius. I got a new radius going in. We'll take all this off. I'll rebuild all this, and then you know, there's just a lot to do. There's so much rot on this thing. It's crazy bad. You can see all inside here too. This almost wants to fall off. There's a staple holding it right here. So, all right, we'll show you more when we'll end up resealing this entire coach. You know, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it right. Get it done. We don't redo them all, meaning in regards to caulking and stuff. Sometimes the customer likes to do that, or can do that. But in this case, she doesn't want to mess with anything. She said, just do it and get it done right and be done with it. So that's what we're working on. So they tried to use these plywood shims to balance out the air conditioner. Walk back over this way. I don't think you'll fall through. You can see that whole thing bouncing. So we'll see when we take up that plywood what's up underneath it. Alright, so let me give you an update of what we're doing here. We got the roof reframed, and then what we did, these are in here pretty good. Okay, so what we had to do on here, I cut the crown for the roof, so it's got a little bit of a crown to it. And then I got some plates on here, and these plates are screwed up underneath. You can see they're glued, and they're glued here and here. And then also what we did, pop this loose. Come on, you, quit being so difficult down there. There it goes. Put some screws in there. What that's going to do is just hold it this way. That's your shear factor strength right there. We had a notch around there because there's a piece of plywood that they had in there for whatever. It only goes I don't know, however far. It looks like it goes all the way up to here anyways, because this one isn't. But anyhow, we'll end up gluing all that, and we'll screw that all down too and fasten it together. Once this piece gets in like that, then we're going to glue it all inside here, here, and we're going to stitch it back into here, every single one of these. So it's going to get glued down inside the ceiling as well. We're going to put adhesive down inside here. So we'll get all that. Then we got a gap right here. You can see the gap on each side. We're going to load that with another special foam adhesive that we have, and it's a glue, and it's going to bond this truss to this foam and also everything else inside there, right? It'll make it nice and tight. So that's what we're working on. Then we come over here and we'll reframe around for the skylight, just cleaning this up. This is where the air conditioner was, and I think I showed you how they tried to put a buffer piece underneath there, and they took the time to cut out of plywood, but all they do is stack it on there. See if I can get around you. All right, come on down this way. So now what we're doing is just making sure there's no rod or any loose stuff that just needs to go. You know, we're going to scratch that down, and I'm going to put another piece of foam in here. It's going to be another piece of rigid board, much like this. It's a different type though. But this is where the air conditioner was. So there's no framing around it. There was no framing. It's gone. It needs to be boxed out and framed to give it some strength. That's why it was sagging. And then if you go up here, like you can see how that's framed out. See how you get your frame in there? Doesn't have one down there. That was an aftermarket. Somebody just threw it in there, I'm guessing. See how it's got framing in there? And then this one here, it was just a free floater. It was just free floating. So I'm going to take this panel out. One is a piece of FRP, but I'm going to take it out because I don't like it. And then we're going to, I got to rebuild this anyways. And I got to rebuild all the front. We tore all that out. Probably going to take those lights off because they don't need to be on there, and you can see the bunk, how it's slapping down. It's going to break all that. Now you've got leaks inside the cab, so you don't need to have that on there. Up on the top here, we're going to have all new LED lights, so those can go. And then we'll just we'll butter them up, clean them up, epoxy them, close, shut, yada yada yada. And then right here, you can see some of the quality work. This piece is this piece is loose. You can wiggle this around. But when they welded it, this is what I don't like about aluminum. It's kind of a fickle animal. Let me get my hand out of the way for you. But see how they burned a hole through it? They're trying to weld it. But they tried to do it to do this joint right here. You see the joint they tried to do. And that's it. Really, if they wanted to do that, you know, they should have made this piece longer to give it some more strength if they wanted to. But I mean, this little bit, what's that, probably about 4-inch piece? That's not long enough to give you enough strength that you want. And you can see like how the joint's already coming apart. It's not married. And you're not going to ever see that, but the problem with it is it doesn't have the absolute strength it could have. So these are the things I look for. I want to make sure when we do it, it's done right. We don't have any issues with it. And nothing is going to compromise or cause something else to not work. Everything got to work in concert. So when they build these, they want to build them light. Hey, that's how light can we build them? I want to build them real light. Because the lighter they are, then the more you can carry for all your other belongings, right? Then the smaller the vehicle can be. But the problem with it is this alloy aluminum right here is so porous and it's so low, it's low alloy. I don't know if you can see, but this thing sags. It can't handle a span all the way across there. It can't do it. Not in the long run. So now you got to imagine, you know, when you build it, you go, hey, it's straight, it's there. But now the thing's bouncing, okay? And when that thing bounces, especially if there's an air conditioner sitting on there, which this didn't have, but back there it did, that air conditioner is still bouncing with the momentum of the vehicle going down the road. So when that compromises this, now you get ponding water in there, and then they tell you to put the vent down there, and they put, you know, slobber it with dyed core, put more on, that type thing. Well, now it leaks, and then when it leaks, it causes separation in the luan right here, and the foam in the sealing panel, and then when it does that, then it starts just falling, and everything just starts collapsing. That's what kind of happened back there. But that one there, although it didn't have a frame, but I've seen other ones like that where they still had a frame, but they're still going to collapse. This just simply isn't strong enough. So you know, when we get done, I don't know if some folks have an actual weight that they need to maintain to carry all their stuff, so I just recommend everybody go get reweighed. I don't know how much I take off and how much I add, but I try to use the lightest material I can with the maximum strength. So this in particular, these are what's called white pine, and this is really light compared to like a pressure treated or a yellow pine. And they have plenty of strength once they're all put together and glued and so on. They're going to have a lot more strength than these. But it's a shame, you just have to build it to a certain degree to have, it's going to have some weight. It is what it is, or it's going to fall apart. So the same with the front here, this front platform piece, which is, where is it? I can see it over there. I'll show you that after a while, but it's just, again, cheap aluminum. And the way they had this radius all together, it's just all cheap and it falls apart because, again, you're going down the road, getting that headwind, it's shaking back and forth. That loosens up the caulking. Caulking lets in the water. Water lets in, and you get all that. Now you get rot, and then it's a dog chasing its tail. It's just a shame, but that's why I want to get it all done right. You can see how much D-lam we got here. So I don't know how much I got all the way back there. We have rot down in here. I already showed you that on the first intro of the video. And then we had this piece is all rotted. And then right here, this is the entranceway to go into the cab. There's a gasket that goes around there, and that gasket failed. And then it's just, now it's a mess. So I got to try and dig that out. And you can still see we're working on. I got the slide out frame made, but you know, we're trying to assess what we have, and then I build all the components, and after I build them and I know they're there, then you know, it may take a day or two or three or whatever it takes till we get over there, because you only can work one thing at a time, because you don't want to keep pulling the scaffold, pushing it back, pull the scaffold, pushing it back. So all right, so that's what we're on. So we're going to fix all this up, everything get glued and all together, and yada yada yada. Well, I'll give you a couple of updates. So one of the things we did, you know, we foamed all this, all foam adhesive in here. So we did all that, and then we put these screws in, but there's two more screws I wanted in here. So I just dug that out a little bit, and I put a couple more. There's one here, one here. We did it into all of them. And so now we're going over everything, making sure everything is what and where we need it to be. And now we are looking at this hot mess right here. That is a mess. The way they had those wires run, and they were tucked up inside, and we pulled them out a little bit to see how they did the connection. I don't like that at all, so we're going to fix that. And then this other light, this other one, see, I get this one here that goes over that way. There's a light right here. And then this one in the back, it goes through that tubing, through the truss. And that's where your power comes from. So they tapped off all of that. And then what they did is they brought it through this tubing right here. They brought it through this tubing. And then they brought it through here. And look at this. Just those little butt connectors. And they had these jammed up inside here with no protection at all. I don't like that. I mean, that's just a butt connection. These things are prone to pop. So we're going to solder those together. We got solder connectors we're going to use, and we're going to also put some heat shrink on there. We're going to get that, and then we're going to put probably see if we can get a bushing in there or something to kind of protect that, or a piece of loom. You know, those ones are protected right there. You see they got the plastic pieces in there, but this one doesn't. So then what happens is this services through here. There's a light for the bathroom right here, and then that is connected in that junction box, comes back up to service for the fan. That's what this is, the fan. Okay, so we got all that, but I don't like that hot mess there. We're fixing that. So, and then like I said, we went around. That's what I was doing, is putting all these. I'm going to put the rest of these screws in, and we'll finish getting some more foam adhesive in here and getting all that right. So that's about where we are. I did want to show you. Really, I wanted to put the camera on to show you this, and I figured I'll show you the rest of what we're doing. So everything else is coming together. We're still trying to get this framing right, make sure the brakes are right, make sure we get our strength where we need it, and so forth. So that's what we're working on. We also put a new piece of iso board in here. So I got this. This has a little bit more of a jump than the rest, but it's going to be okay because we got this one here, all doubled up. I mean, there's plenty of strength in here. Plus, this is a new piece of iso board. The distance is not enough to. I think it's like a 3-inch distance difference in the distance. So I'm not even gonna poke that bear and try to put another one in here. That wouldn't be necessary. So my big concern was getting some strength right here where the air conditioner is going to go, and we got that. And then this one right here is for the skylight. We're going to put a skylight in there. It had an emergency hatch, but we're just going to put a nice skylight in there. The hatch is a mess anyways, and then we'll frame all that out inside and put some trim up in the inside. Take care of that. So, all right, more to come. This is a solder connector. It's not quite like a butt connector you would crimp, but right in the center there, that's the solder. So this is a large one, just so I could show it on camera, but the smaller ones is what we're using over here, and that's what we did. So now the other thing we're going to do, even though this plastic piece on the end, see now that piece that he's sliding over there, that's heat shrink, and that's going to keep the wire all tight together so it won't break apart. And then we use this fancy dancy Ryobi Heat Gun. Ryobi is not sponsoring this video in any way, shape, or form. So we're going to do that to the other ones and get them all tight. You know, make sure, I want to make sure and feel comfortable that they're not going to be compromised. These are our new platform. So I built this a little differently. And the way they had the other one, they put plywood, it was way heavy. But anyhow, we got some foam in there. And then I built the frame. And then everything is all glued and screwed together. And the other thing I did on this, and I'll show you, but we got this rib going down here, this spine. So the reason that spine is in there, and it's a half lap. But basically there's notches in every one of those, and one sits inside the other. And that's going to add some strength so when they get on the bunk, on a typical Class C, you have a cutout right here, and that sits on the actual cab of the roof of the vehicle. On here we don't have that. On this one it isn't. It just comes straight out, and then the cab is up underneath it. And the problem is if you don't have any strength in there, the thing's just not going to be able to handle enough weight on here if a couple of people get on there. So that's why I designed it this way. And then like I said, it's all screwed and glued together, and then when we put the foam in here, that adds some strength to it, but it's also it's light. And then we fill it with, that's a foam adhesive, so now it's bonded to every corner, everything is all bonded together. So here's the big monster over here. This whole thing is every time we touch something, everything else breaks on us. But over here, you can see we got this side right here where the window is. That seemed to stay intact. We tried to work this one, tried to get this one over here. It all fell apart. See, it's gone. Maybe if I can get around the scaffold, show you a better view. It's not there. It all fell apart. So we got this out, and then we had to get this back wall apart too. And I'm trying to figure how I want to do that, because that was just heavy plywood just sitting on there. And I'm going to try to look at that and see if I can. I want to make it strong, but I also don't need it quite so heavy. Of a couple of sheets of 3/4 inch plywood that's on there. I believe that's what it was. And it's super heavy to pull out. So obviously there's our slide out right here, and then I think I already showed you how we did all this. We put some strength in here. This is where the jacks are going to sit, those actuators. So, and this is the aluminum that got tore out from there, and then this hole is for our hydraulic lines. We got to put our floor back on there and fill all that in too. And we'll get all that, and then I'll fix all this here. So we lucked out. I mean, we just really lucked out just at the edge right here. So there's no issues up underneath. Just got this little D-lam right here going on, but wallpaper or something can cover all that. We'll try and get it back the best we can. Then over here, same thing. There's another strut that we put in here to pull it back, so we welded it all back together. And now when those actuators, when we bring the actuators in, they're going to have their own foot that is going to sit right on here, and we'll bolt all that together. So now when all that energy starts pushing out, it's coming out from where it should be instead of pushing all of this out, which caused the tear out on all the framing. You can see, obviously, all the framing's gone. So, because it's all wrecked, it's all just tore apart. So this is the platform right here, and they got all this plywood on here, and they just got that. It's just your basic. This is typically how they do it anyways. This is all this pylon is no good anyways. Look at all the holes they got. So we'll put a new sheet on there. But this is what they have. And here is just this foam that they put in. And then they put another piece of this aluminum in here and try to put it all together. But it's not even welded good. See? And this is how things just start shaking and working their way apart. And they don't care. They just want to get them built, get them out, get them sold. So I'm guessing when all this started falling apart, someone said, hey, we got to try to do something, and they somebody had put this on here. That's not factory. So somebody put that on there, which added weight to it, which caused more of a problem. So, you know, you need to design these things where they're going to work and function. And that's why I say when you watch some of these people on YouTube, you know, be careful who you follow, because a lot of them want to be, and they just, you know, want to get on there to be YouTube stars or something. I don't know. So this is the same thing. See how that one isn't welded either? So I made the other one. It's all out of wood, and it makes it easier to fasten and put everything together, and the joinery is better. This is so thin that when you put the screws in there, eventually these screws, they just get wallered out because there's no real strength to them. So I want to make sure that the piece we put in is going to be real strong. This is the other one right here. This is where the other window was. So, and that's the top part where the window for the bunk was. I'm not sure if I'm going to replace the window or not. I'll look at it. If I can salvage the window, I will. But typically they leak. But I want to see how good or bad the frame is on it. But back to this. This is the other one for the driver's side right here. You're going to see how it all just fell apart. So we may have no choice but to make this work, and we're probably going to have to re-weld all this, you know, and that's more than likely what we're going to do just for this sake. And then I'll add some strength into it afterwards as I'm building it. Maybe some gusset pieces, which this is basically, they want to call that kind of a gusset, but it's just really adds a little shear strength to it. But again, it's not welded. It's not welded. There's very minimal welds on these, and that's why they come apart. Even here, no welds. So you go around, you go, hey, how are they welding this thing? And you can see how rickety-rackety this thing is. I mean, it's shaking all over the place. See? This whole thing is just about ready to twist apart right here. So it's just a terrible design. Even here, nothing, no welds. How do you expect all this stuff to stay together if you don't do it proper? So you got a weld in that corner right there, but you have to have it on both sides, because when that energy hits the opposing side of the weld, then it will, when you weld this right here, even though you got a weld there, if you took this piece and bent it back, you could break that weld. So you really need it welded on the other side. So as this thing is going down the road, racking, flexing, twisting, and has all that headwind coming at it, it's really moving around a lot more than what people think. And it'll work a little bit more, it'll work a little bit more, a little bit more, and then eventually these things start coming apart. Your caulking starts coming apart because the structure is now failed. So when the structure fails, and then the caulking cuts loose, and then you get water in there, then you get rot in there, and then, you know, dog chasing its tail. So like I said, we may have to salvage this for that sake to put it up there, and then I'll figure out. I don't want to go back and put all this together with wood. I don't think that's an option because of the size and everything. But I'll get it back together. That's what I do. I'll figure it out. It's just I look at things as I'm doing them, and I say, hey, what's causing that to fail? Can I do something else to strengthen it up? So once I put this whole frame together, which will be leashed back in there, it's going to go back to my frame right here that I built. This is steel. This is a steel frame that I built. I think I already showed you all this. But anyhow, this is where the slide out's going to go. And then I put some feet on there, and then all that's going to get leashed back in to the main. We're going to have another shoe on there, and we're going to leash it back into the main frame. So once I get that, I can bring other pieces out to marry with this, and you'll see how it's basically a shear strapping is what it is. Blah blah blah. All right, I'm talking too much. Let me get back to work. But here's a top piece. This is for the inside the window that I was telling you about. So this is that, and then that's the piece that goes on top of this one right here. And this is the ceiling panel, and all they did was put a piece of FRP on there, which is a fire resistant panel, and they put the pebble side up so it looks smooth on the inside, but all that was falling apart. So that's why we just said the heck with it. I'll put a new ceiling panel in there. I'll get that squared away, and we'll end up putting a new vent in there. But the whole thing was just a slopping mess. Whoever was working on this thing definitely didn't know how to put an RV together, or even patch or repair one for sure. So, all right, well, that's where we're at so far with our big monster. And you can see we got all these jacks. See all those jacks that are in there? All those jacks that go all the way down. And that's what we did to bridge. We bridged it up so when we put our trusses in, and everything is all glued up there. I think I already showed you all that. And we got all that bonded back together. And we also, I think we located a 12 volt, because really what I want to do is run a 12 volt down when I build this. I'd like to see if there's a way I can put some 12 volt in there for like USB port chargers and things like that. So that's what I'm going to try and do. Hopefully it won't give me that much of a hard time. It shouldn't be. But like I said, you can see all the jacks and everything we got there. We have to bridge that up to get where we want to be. So then by the time I'm done with it and I release them, all that glue and adhesive, it would have to fight so much glue up there, it's not going to come down. It just doesn't. Plus I got camber on those trusses, so it just isn't going to happen. We're done with that. It's just putting all this hot mess back together now. And see how the cab is? That's what I was saying. The way this cab is, see if I zoom this back a little bit. The way this cab is, the platform sits above it. So you can actually put your hand all up underneath there. There isn't an access like there are on most typical Class C's. This one, there's a port, like a hole that you can go through, but there isn't that horseshoe on the actual roof. So that's why I had to make that platform that I just showed you. That's why I had to make it differently. Well, alrighty, we're trying to make some progress here. We have got, this is the back wall. We're going to be cutting that hole for the access to come in this way. Okay, so we'll be doing that. And then we already got everything else going on. We got the lower platform, we got that going in. And we'll have to, obviously we'll peel that plastic on. We leave it that way. We took the lights out because the other platform was hitting, so we got rid of those. You can see we got our radius. We got that other top piece going on. So we got all that going. And now we're going to come down here. We've got T-lam all down this passenger side. We just don't know how far it goes, but it's like right here. This is where all the blue tape is. And this seems okay, but we're going to find out how good or bad it is. Because right here, if you have some of these awnings, I highly recommend. This awning was the arm that came in and it retracted, okay, like a scissor action. And if you have these, a lot of Class A's have, even some fifth wheels, but what happens is the water will get down in here. No one seals these, so I recommend that you take them out. All you have to do is open your awning out, take one screw out, load right behind there. And if you can actually open this up, like when you take the screws, leave the ones up there on the top. Don't take them all out at once. And if you pull it apart, squirt, 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 and then put some on the bracket, inside the hole, and put those screws back in. And then do the same to the top. And that'll keep any water that comes in this way from just running down, because that's what'll happen, especially as you're driving. So then out this back door, this was kind of a mess. I don't know what all that nonsense was or how that happened, but that's what we had. And all this is all loose. You see it's all rotted behind here. Hopefully the light will get in there a little better. And then all that mess in there. Trying to see if I can get I don't know if I zoom up if it would look any better. Nope, but it's all rotted in there. I'll come back a little bit, maybe that'll help. I can do RVs pretty well, but videography isn't my skills, I guess. We just put these videos together, meat and potatoes. That's it. I'm not into all the frills, not into all that selfies and all that other junk. It doesn't matter. We're trying to show you what's wrong with everything. So I don't know what all this mess was. It looks like this was all done, and that's what my suspicion is, that this was probably a freight truck that somebody converted into. That's what I'm thinking. Converted into a camper, because this isn't your normal gate. This is actually a big, huge Tommy gate. That's not a normal gate for an RV. Usually you have a tailgate that comes down, but it closes up and it's got latches on it and stuff. This is more what they call a Tommy gate. So it'll come down, and then it'll just drop down like this. It'll keep coming, then it'll come up, and then you can just put the tailgate back up. That's what that's for. A lot of like appliance companies and companies that carry heavy things like that they got to keep getting on and off the truck, they'll have those. So that's why I'm kind of thinking that. And also all the other things that we've seen, like the slide out, that wasn't factory. And then look at this mess here. So somebody obviously cut all this. This was the frame that connected here, but that isn't normal on a application for that. And there's no frame in here. Say someone just took a saw and went zip, 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 and cut it. Where over here, there's more of a frame down here. So that's why you got more of a frame. So that's what I'm thinking. I could be wrong, but if it was somebody that did it as a aftermarket or factory, it sure does suck. So, but this is just flopping around here, so I got to get that back and figure that out. And then they put these bolts through here to hold this handle. The bolts went all the way through like that, like this, and it was covered up with a whole bunch of booger on there. So it was just a pain in the butt. I just cut them off. And obviously you can see we got the door off. So now we got to assess what's all going on. Like how we're gonna, I got to fix this, and I got to see what's going on with this too. So a couple birds got in here and made a nest somewhere, and we're going to have some dinner soon. Hopefully it'll taste like chicken. So all right, so that's where we're at with this so far. So we're going to see what happens when we start trying to peel some of this off. If it comes off easy enough, I'll probably just take the whole skin off. If it doesn't, then I'll make a strategic cut somewhere and we'll figure out how we're going to mess with it. That's about all I can say. All right, let's get to work. Okay, get the siding off. And all we do is just go halfway up. That's all I'm going to do. But I got some rot in here. See, the framing's all rotted here. That's foam. And then, I don't know what all this is. This is probably a piece of foam in there. We just got to figure out what's all going on here and pull it back together, because this got to get stitched back in. I got to make some sort of frame to go around here. That's going to be important. So I think I've already got that all squared away. It's just, see, you got a radius up there. So the frame got to get turned around, you know, and kind of rolled. I may have that all figured out too. So give me a second and see if I got some stuff here. But this is what we got going on so far. Alright, so what we did, we got a piece of heavy gauge steel that we used to pull all this together. We haven't put any screws in it yet, but that's what's going to hold that together and it'll leash up into here. We already got it done over there. We got it wrapped down to the bottom right here. And then we put some wood stock all the way around the whole perimeter of the door frame. So we have something to screw the door to, because they didn't have anything there. So and then we'll fill this with foam in here. And then we got to put the new skin on there. So, and then we prime the foam that's on here, so we can laminate a new piece to it. That's what we did so far. We're getting there. This is a slow go. So we got the bunk back together. We got the interior pieces there going in. We got another one right here. You can see block the window. So we got those, and then obviously we got to get more of the sheathing on here. And after we get that done, then we can put the siding on, and then we'll do the same on the other side. Then I'll have this horizontal scar. Most of this I think is okay. We're going to check a couple spots. I got one up there. I want to check a couple spots. I'm hoping I don't have to take the whole thing off, so that's what I'm going to check. And then we'll see what it is from there. But if I don't, I'm not going to. I really don't want to if I don't have to. There's no need to do extra work. So, but I do want to check it to make sure it's okay though. But one of the guys had said that there was an area around here somewhere. I can't see it from this angle, but maybe we can see it when we look down from the top. Now what we're doing is putting in a new piece right here. No. We got this one. We're just trying to line it up. And then we've got all new board down here. And then we're going to put the panel back on, the siding, the side on. Alright, we have got our foam filled in. These are some braces that we put in there to help strengthen the weight that's coming down here, so it doesn't want to kick back this way. So we put them in there. We also, when we countersunk all the screws so it's nice and flush, just like we did down here. We countersunk all those. This is it's steel. It's just a lighter gauge, so it's easy to weld compared to the other crap they had. And then you can see we filled in all the foam, and then we put even adhesive inside there. That's the yellow that you can see. We put all that in there to help strengthen. So now everything's working in concert. That's what we want. It's not always just one piece that's going to do the trick. You put this piece of that piece, like stacking ants together, I guess. The best analogy I could give you. So that's all we're doing. Now we're going to put another plate in here to carry for the awning, and then we can make sure we have something to mount for that. So now we got all this all the way down here, and then we're going to fill all that with epoxy. And once we get that all epoxied in, then we're going to see if we put a stripe on it or something, maybe some pinstripe or whatever. I've got to see what I can do with it. And then we'll do the same to the other side. It's just too long to handle. I mean, we can handle the length on it, but if it's that tall, so it's one or the other. We either cut it in half vertically or we cut it in half horizontally. It's just a big piece. So I figured if we do this, it would look better to have a horizontal stripe than just some random vertical. Okay, so we have got the passenger side all done, and we got to trim all that. But we put the door in. The door's all jacked up. It is all jacked up. So we're going to just get a new door. That's what we're going to do. But the rest of this, it come out great. It come out great. We got that big beauty mark right there. We're going to fix that. That's what we do. We'll fix it. We were actually expecting having to cut this in a lot of pieces, but then I got smart. I slept at a Holiday Inn Express, and I got a whole bunch of ideas. So that's why we got this one stripe down there. Like I said, we're going to fix that. Once we fix it, we're going to put a decal on it and just look like a nice stripe going down the coach. I'll show you the other side. Oh, let me show you the door. So the problem with the door, there are a lot of problems with the door. One, right here, somebody tried to get in the door. They warped all this, and in doing so, it warped the frame. Up there too, the door doesn't shut right. Plus, the screen is a mess. And also, we have that big hole right here. So, all said and done, I think it's just easier to get a new door. By the time I sit here and fiddle-faddle around with it, you know, I could just get a new door. So that's what we did. So the door's going to get replaced. Now, on the other side, we got a lot of rot. So get around all my scaffold here. I already showed you all the new framing we did. See, that's all steel. All that is steel. That's even steel that we put in there. It's just light gauge, so we can frame out the window. We'll have foam that'll go inside there, and we'll glue it all together. And then we flinch plated up here. That's called a flinch plate. We brought that back to the main frame of the coach. And then even this slide out frame that I got here, that's secured into the main frame of the coach, which is secured to the trusses. It's not going anywhere. So we got all that. Then you can see all of this rot. Look in there. So we got to tear all that off and reskin it. And then once we reskin it, we can put new, obviously, we're going to use the same Phylon. We're not putting new Phylon on, we're just going to reskin it. This section seemed okay, but all that, you can see, rotted. And look at this hot mess right here, all rotted. Holy cow, I almost died. Then I wouldn't be able to do a good video again. So that's what we got. Yeah, you can see it's all rotted here. So you can see it's all, this is what they call D-lam. So the way plywood is put together, this is a ply. And you can see the way the grain, see the grain going this way? Look at this grain, it's going this way. And then there's one more underneath it. This is a 3-ply. Real thin, but it's still 3-ply. And the other one is going in the opposite direction, okay, which is, meaning when I say opposite, I mean this one's going this way, it orientates like a checkerboard. So you got this one, that one, and the other one. That's where it gets its strength from. So they, but it's still going to delaminate. It doesn't matter what you put in here. A lot of people say, hey, I'm going to put on this Asdal and all this stuff. It doesn't matter what you put in. If it leaks, it's going to go somewhere. It's going to go somewhere. Here's an idea. Don't get it to leak. I like that idea better than trying to put on that composite stuff, and it's too expensive. And it probably works, I'm sure, you know, the way it was designed. But these camper, like we did one on a Keystone. They were bragging about having Asdal all the way down. It's a composite underneath the siding and all that. And when I video it, it didn't have all that. It had the Asdal was on the back and it was on the front, but it was not on the main side walls at all. It was just Luan. So, and then, you know, the way products are getting now, you're having trouble getting any material. We're going to put a hardboard on here. A hardboard is going to lay real good and real flat. And some of the advantages to those type of composite type, if you call them that, the composite type of material, is that they actually, the glue takes better. And that's why a lot of furniture is made out of that, because it does glue better, even though it just isn't necessarily as strong, okay? And in this case, you wouldn't need it. You're just looking for what's called shear factor out of this. And we're going to get it. And we're going to get a nice flat surface. So we'll strip off what we can, and then we'll redeck it and get it all nice like we did the other side. And then where our beauty mark is, like I said, we'll epoxy all that, and then we're going to put a decal down there. I'm probably going to put a black decal all the way down the side. And I got different decals, not just the one. So I want to make it look like it belongs there, not like, hey, we had a problem, we had to fix it and put, you know, basically stripe of black tape, if you will, on there. I'm going to try and, you know, I want to make it look decent. All right, so that's what we got. You can see all the rot. And now we shall fix. All right, we have got this all glued on. Now the siding will go back on. So we got to finish over here. That's what we're doing now. Once we get all that, we can glue the Phylon back on. I also had to fix a couple frames. This one here was rotted. and there's a door down there. So that one was rotted, so we rebuilt those. We got the top all glued on. Now we got to get this lower piece all glued on. Then right where that booger is, that line, we're gonna fix it. I got to put a pinstripe down there. It'll probably be a little bigger than a pinstripe, but we're gonna put a stripe down there. I think it'll look just groovy. And all she has to do is just have this thing buffed out. And it'll be just fine. Now we got the glue on, and we're doing it in stages. But it's got to roll on nice and flat. Look at all that adhesive we got. Yeah, good stuff. This is the fascia trim. This right here is fascia trim. There's another one that goes on the top. So we took all of that off. I wanted to inspect everything. It's got an aluminum frame box. You can see that's what these are for. But I opened this up because I wanted to see, mainly because these are all rusted out and they were really loose. So I wanted to make sure they were grabbing into something. There is a couple of bars, and I'm kind of curious to know if that one there is hitting one or hitting the joint. There's two of them right there. So I may make an adjustment on that accordingly, but I'm probably going to put some rivet nuts in there. That'll hold it, because those are all wallered out. The other choice is to put bigger screws in, but if the stock behind it isn't strong enough to hold the screws, then we're going to be back to the same problem, just with a bigger hole. So more than likely, I'm going to probably end up putting what's called rivet nuts in there and some regular threaded machine bolts in there. So then, look at that piece of aluminum right there. Yeah, that's just the one. Now I'll show you how they assembled this particular roof. So there's your rubber roof right here. There's your membrane. So they had this sitting on here like that, and the roofing went down, sitting on the side. The roofing went down, and that's how they cinched it. And they just put a couple screws down the side and on the side. We're going to take all that up. We're going to put a metal roof on here. Now this doesn't look breached or anything, but with all the work we're doing, and since it's out, I mean, it's just a matter of time before it fails. So while it's in our face, I'm just going to fabricate one up. The one we're going to do, it's going to be a metal pan that I'm going to make, a metal roof system here. That'll come over and it'll come down. And then when it goes to the back, it'll return up. And then these ones here will return down. The same on the other side, it'll turn down. So all that water is going to shed right off. So, and then we just put the fascia back on, we seal everything up, and it's done. But like I said, with this, there was an awning on here, and that's why it was all loose. So I need to make sure it's going to be okay for us to put back without it being an issue. All right, let us get to work, and we'll show you when we get it done here. All right, we're trying to get some decking on here. This is going to be great. So evidently the coach is a little wider. We'll put a piece in here and we'll alternate it. That's what we'll do. But everything's, as you can see, all been glued down. Everything's all glued, and then we staple it down in there. These staples are awesome. You rip up the sheathing before you take out a staple. And you can see right here, we added more insulation just to give it a little bit of extra jazz. Make sure it's a little more weather tight, I guess, efficient. So that's what we got going on. We're slapping her all down here. This is a 1/2-inch plywood we're using. It's a BC grade. Well, we got the roof deck on. We got the roof deck all on. Everything's all glued. And then now we fabricated up some shoulders. And this is going to protect the roof edge when it comes around, so it doesn't get chafed on the phylon that's here, the phylon and the plywood where it meets. So that's what the purpose of this is. And then we glued the heck out of this too. There is like a whole bunch of glue under here. We wanted to make sure this son of a gun gonna stay in place. A lot of times you'll see these will pop up because they don't glue them at the factory. And you'll see them start raising up, especially on the shoulders. So we don't want that. All right, we have got the decking on. We got our shoulders on here. And then the other thing that this does is this coach is like 98.5 or so wide. So we had to put that little piece in, if you remember from the previous clips. So what this is doing is covering that lap so you don't see that when you put the roofing down. So that's what that does. And then we had a couple little burrs right here. And some of this plywood, you get it. I mean, the way they put things out sometimes. But anyhow, it had a chip in there and I didn't like it. So we put some Bondo on that, cleaned it up. And then We got our protective strips going across. These are where all our joints are. I like to put them on there. Sometimes the plywood isn't exactly even, and I don't like to see that line there, so that kind of absorbs some of that look. But we also had this one here. I don't know if you can see, like, the way I designed this is it slopes up a little bit, and then it's also got crown this way as well. So that being said, we had a little burpage right here, so we bondoed that too, because I want it to look nice and clean when we set this. So we've got another piece on here, and there's a piece down the bottom when I built the radius, and that sheet metal comes up and it wraps onto here, which keeps this all tight. And then this piece comes up on the roof to keep this all tight. So this thing, and then all we have to do now is put on the Phylon, and then we're going to get this roof on. So that's what we're working on. Everything will come out looking awesome, awesome. So we got new lights going in there. Obviously, I think I told you the window was going out, and then we got to still get the slide out in, and then we filled all the cracks that we could. We had to put a new piece up on here, and then I had to fill these cracks in on these ones. There's a couple, so I'm going to try and clean them up, but the slide outs here, you're never going to really see that unless you're actually looking for it. All these tapes are just markings. You know, that was a marking for the hole. This is a marking for the plumbing. So when we put the roof on, we can come up and measure, and then we just tape these little joints up just to make sure there's no sharpness on that as well. So that's what we did. This is what we got so far. Now this big white piece is going to go here, because this whole tailgate assembly is all bolted in here, but I still got to terminate the roof. So I'm going to put this on like that, and then the roofing will go over, and I'll have this nice this piece here will absorb some of that transition. I want to make it a little wider. If it was a little more narrow, you'd probably see just a little bit, but if I keep it wider, it'll look better. So, and then we're going to have to obviously get the turn bar in there, but then that'll be nice and sealed. So that's what we're up against right now, and everything come along really good. This is a long job, that's for sure. It's probably one of the biggest jobs we've had in this shop with everything entirely that we've done. I know we've had actually the Sunnybrook. That was a big job too. If you haven't seen it, you can go look at that one. And then there's also a Class C. I think it was attempt to say it was a 4 winds, a 4 seasons. That one was a big job we did a couple years ago. A tree had gone through it, and that was a lot of work for sure, just to try to negotiate where the roof was, because when the tree hit it, it squashed the whole frame, and we had no margin of how much to jack up on the side. And because the coach wasn't level, it couldn't be level. The suspension, there's a whole bunch of different variables to tell you, or that can throw you off. I shouldn't say to tell you, but to throw you off in regards to, you know, the evenness of the coach. We'll just go with that, or the squareness of the coach. So when you have suspension, tire pressures, bushings, all those things make a difference, and you have to try to bring the coach up to make sure it's even with maybe the other side. At least, and I'm talking about that other one that I think was a 4 winds. But anyhow, all these are up on YouTube. There's a whole bunch of videos y'all can watch. But so far, like I said, I like the way this is coming out. Everything looks great. We got that big hump out of the front up there. We got all that out of there. So this thing is looking good. It's got a little rake to it. So if I put a level on here, the level is only going to tell me that I'm true with all my trusses. But the coach itself, you know, the rear suspension is a little higher than the front. So they call that rake when it goes down. And now, like on some of these pickup trucks, when they come out of the factory, they'll have a little rake to them, and the nose will be down a little bit, and they have these kits now you can put in, they call them leveling kits. But all vehicles usually come out with a little bit of rake to them. That's the design of them. So anyhow, let us get going, and we're going to get the rest of this finished. We're going to get a roof on here. We have got the passenger side. That's already been glued down. It's all set. Now this is the driver's side, which will roll over. And you can see we've got it all glued down. We got to wait for it to what's called flash off. It gets kind of tacky. It's a contact cement, you know, designed for the TPO. So you can see how we put this buffer strip in here that I was telling you about earlier. And we did the same up front. Someone over there, I think, working on the side. I'll show you up here. Get that one there. So, like I said, all this is once it starts flashing off, then we'll roll it over. Let me get the roof on. Well, they got ahead of me. They already obviously have got it rolled out. Now what we're doing over here is we're going to roll it with this big mammoo of a roller, and we're just cleaning some of the dirt off, so we don't leave all the dirt streaks on there. It's just harder to clean. Otherwise, we are ready to start cutting everything, putting curbs in. So we're going to assemble all this. So Probably the next clip you're going to see on this is probably most of it all done, you know, everything all put together. All right, our big bruiser here, the Super C, is about ready to go. So we've had a lot of work done since our last clip. I'll get up there and show the roof as soon as I back up into the bay, but we pulled it out so we do all this other work, did all this striping down. That's where we cut the siding. And I wanted to do something with it. Originally, we were going to put white vinyl all the way down just to kind of clean it all up, because I thought I was going to have to cut it all vertically. And I stewed and stewed and stewed on it. I said, nah, and that's why I cut it vertically. So I'd have these two pieces, glued all this one back. This one we didn't touch, the top side. So this lower end is the one that we did on the passenger side. On the opposite side, the driver's side, we did the whole thing. So we've got all that together, and you see I put these 3 stripes down there. I think it looks pretty good. It looks clean, put it that way, it looks clean. Do I think it's going to go into World of Wheels? Probably not. But it looks pretty decent. And then we had some other issues with just a little bit of the, where, like right here, we put this little door. So what we did is we cleaned it all up. We had a score in there, or score, whatever you want to call it. And then I just airbrushed around it. That's why the tape's still on it. I just took an airbrush kit. But the color is really white. It's white. It's polar white. This just needs to be polished. The main coach needs to be polished. So we get the arms back on, we got all that. We got it all sealed behind the arms too, because they had it wrong. They had it, there's a frame rail right in here, and they had it bolted down here. There was no frame rail, which kind of contributed to some of the big D-lamp down this side, you know, along with all the no caulking and all that other baloney that happened. So we went around, obviously sealed everything here, and we sealed inside the door too. Got to seal all that. That's all we clear. But we seal all that up, obviously around the light. We get down here. So we're going to go around and make sure everything's all set. We had to put a new door handle on. We actually had to put a new door on. The door, the original door, was so jacked up. I think I showed you that. The hinges were. So we put this one on. And I could not find one that had a radius on it. So I had to square all that up, fit it in. Let me just put that trim. It's a drip cap. And we're going to put one down there too, just to kind of make them look the same. Kind of take your eye away from the fact that this one isn't really curved. That's about all we can do. Let's see what else we got. Go around the other side, and we got the slide out over there. We've got new LED lights up on there, and then we did the slide out. Got that all going, and same thing here. We had a score, so we epoxied all that, then I bonded it, and then we cleaned it up, and this is the polar white. You can see there's almost no difference, maybe a shade or two, possibly. I'm hoping not though, but you know, if there is, not much I can do about that. Same thing, put the strikes on both sides of the decals. The other one's underneath there, the little one is up underneath that. And then on the slide out, what I did is I redid the bottom here, took that old one off. That was a termination for the siding, and you can see how it rakes down, so it'll flow out. Any water that comes down, I want it to go this way. I don't want it to go back in. On the inside, which, let's see if I can show you, but on the inside of this, these pieces are just, see if I can flash that out. Let me help. So what we did, you see we got new rollers under there. And what we did is just cut the gasket just enough to keep some of the wind and breeze out of it. And we set that all in. But also right here, what you're looking at right here, this piece is a piece of aluminum that we fabricated to go up, and then it returns up about a ½ inch. So any water that gets in here is going to be able to weep out, especially where the rollers are. It'll just at least weep out. We got new gaskets going on here as well. So we'll just clean up some of the, what I call bleed off. If you look at the way the caulking is there, got that little bit of bleed off. I'll just take a little X-Acto knife and clean that up. It'll look great. And let's see, what else we got? Going around. She's about ready to go. So, see, that's what we're doing with the airbrush. We had that score right there. We took care of that. And then there's another one right here. That was where I did the inspection. And we're going to sand that down a little bit and try to get it to blend. And I think there was one more at the top. So we just went around and tried to clean it up, to make it look a little more presentable. And then she grabbed a tree branch over here, and we did that as well. So you're probably going to see it when it gets out in the light. You're probably going to see some look brighter than the others, that's for sure. But you know, again, once you clean this up, you can do that with just some polishing compound, and then you know, clean it up. It would look really good. She knows she's going to have to paint the doors and the back tailgate and all of that. So by the time she does all that, this coach will look really sharp. A lot better than what it was. But we did this whole entire side on here. We did all the panel. I think we showed that on another clip. And then that's about it so far. Then when I get a chance, I'll show you the roof. But the bunk we just left, I'll try and get in there and do a visual on the bunk afterwards. We are finally done! No kidding! This is the last clip. No joke. It's over with. So we got our brand on here. We put that on there just so we know how old the roof is, comes back for inspections and so forth. That's why we put it on there. Or in the event the customer wants to sell it. You know, I know these roofs, RV roofs in general, are not known to be pretty well quality, put it that way. They're going to leak, but at least you can say, hey, I just had this roof put on in 22, whatever it is. So we got everything all set. We put our little spouts on the end, put new gutters on it. That's a skylight we put in. And then obviously you see we got the air conditioner on there, both air conditioners on, got everything on. But we got these two stands in the back. They just give it some balance. And then on the front, we've got a piece of counter flashing. That's so when the water comes down, the water will trickle and get out from underneath. There's a piece of counter flash that I build into all of them. So the water will come down, trickle below the counter flash, and roll out the curb that way. And it just makes sure up underneath there is a foam gasket. And if you don't have that counter flash, what happens, the water will run down, you're driving, and it's just going to be blowing all that water back into that gasket. And I don't want that to happen. Let's keep the water out of there. So that's why I designed up those that counter flash on there. Like you said, we put this in here, and we trimmed out inside the box. It was kind of a mess, so we just took and wrapped that whole inside with aluminum. We put on all new vents. We put all new covers on there. Everything's all new. Got all that squared away. This is a wind sensor. I don't know if it works or not, but we just put it back together. And then this air conditioner, you see it's got the same thing. That'll settle. So you get that little leg the way it's sitting, it'll be all right. And then same thing with the counter flash here. So we've got everything all done. Everything is all set. I already went around all of this earlier, but everything's been all sealed as well. So she is ready to go. And I got that little zip tie down there. It just hold that there. So I know there's a power awning, but we do that to all of them. It's just our way of making sure nothing pops open, you know, safety thing on our end. And we got the air conditioner, excuse me, not the air conditioner right here. That skylight over there, the way we've got that skylight in there, it's just resting on top of that curb. And you can see we've got a lot of caulking around. It's sitting in a bed of adhesive caulk that we use. But this right here is a solar fan. So typically what happens to these skylights, and if you look on your RV, you're probably going to see in the ceiling, a lot of times after a few years, you're going to see maybe some rot, or if you don't see it in the ceiling, you'll probably feel it around the skylight. And some of it is due to the skylight in itself cracking and fracturing, but also when the dew in the morning sits on the top, the sun will come up and evaporate that off. But that being said, the dew is also on the inside of that skylight. So if it's on the inside, when it condensates down, that dew, when it does, it'll roll all the way down, it'll start working on the roof deck, and it's just chronic. It's something that's going to happen in a few years. So I designed these up, and these are solar fans, and there's a trough that runs underneath the roof deck. And on the other side, I may have to show you around there, there's a vent, a plumbing vent. It looks much like this, it's just plumbing vent, and it's an intake. So now when the sun comes up to evaporate all of the solar, when the sun comes up to evaporate all of the condensation on that skylight lens, the fan will kick on. And the fan will keep drawing air all the way through. It'll stay on. It'll stay on. As long as it's got sunlight, it'll stay on. So the you know, obviously you want to make sure it's still working from time to time to check it. But if that cover on the other side, the plumbing, I'll see if I can go around the other side. We still have the scaffold pulled out a little bit because we were working on that slide out. So but you can see right there, that one there, this one is an intake, and that's what's pulling the air for the fan. And then the other two there, those two are actual plumbing. So if that cap falls off on here, this one right there, if it pops off from a tree branch, take one of these ones off the plumbing and put it on there, because it will leak. It will leak right into the skylight area, okay? So just steal that one, because you don't really need those ones on there. I just put them on to dress it, but if any water got down, if the caps popped off of that, the water would just simply go down into the holding tanks. On the other one that I was telling you about, the other one there, for the skylight, that you definitely need to have, put that cap on there. Or push come to shove, if you didn't even have a cap or whatever, tape it up, do something. We leave a care package and it does have some tape in there, but I would definitely put something over it if it does pop off from a tree branch. So otherwise, we've got 2 strikes of caulking all the way down and around everything. Put all new insert trim. Like I said, we've got a little gutter spouts here. Everything is all double dealed. So a lot of people ask me, why do you do it twice? So if you've ever operated a caulking gun, when you start squeezing, you'll hear it, it'll pop and it'll crackle. And it doesn't matter the brand, doesn't matter how good it is, it doesn't matter how cheap it is, it'll have air in it. And basically all that popping and cracking is air, and you just pushed an air bubble inside the caulking. It's almost impossible to get it out. But if you make another pass over it, what are the chances of having one air bubble over another? So we'll say you go with just the 1 strike. You put that 1 strike on there. Now this coach is going down the road, racking, twisting, flexing, and as it's racking, twisting, flexing, that air bubble pops. Now you got a leak. So I put 2 strikes on everything. Not to mention all up underneath there is a whole bunch of sealant as well. So, and then, so you said this is the last clip. It probably isn't the last clip. Because I want to get it outside and I want to show you how this looks. I kind of like this, the way we did it and sliced it and put the decal down there. I just wanted to show you what it may look like out there. And if we can do that, we may end up doing that. All right, well, we appreciate y'all watching. We see you for the next one. This was a super, super hard job in a way. It was a long job. It was just every twist and turn. Like most of the stuff that we run across, there's always something that somebody did to muff it up. And we got to go back and we got to bring it back together, straighten it out, and then we have other adjustments to make. And one of those adjustments, when we did this roof, it's got camber, you saw all that, but we had to get it to blend down to here. So we had to rake that down, and we had to do the same in the front and rake it down. Those are a couple things that we ran into. Also the slide out, all those screws in the slide out, just for the slide out topper right there, that aluminum in there was a mess, and we put rivet nuts in there to hold all that together. So we had to modify a few things, but you have to get some things loose before you can get it back together to realign it and so forth. So, but all right, well, let's see what we got if we can get outside. Let's see how this comes out. It looks pretty good. Looks clean. That's what we're shooting for. You know, it's no one expects it to go into better campers and gardens. We just want it to look clean. Put a shadow line on that other side of the slide out. But even where we, you know, tried to patch up, those look pretty well. You know, we're not a body shop. I just wanted to try to make it look cleaner than what it was. So, and no, we don't sell metal roofing, and he's next door. Everybody comes in all the time asking about metal roofing. So, that's our big old Super C. Package. Right. So in our care package we have caulking, we got primer, we have got 2 patches. Those are heat patches. We got a patch peel and stick patch. We got a checker tool. We've got a magnet. And the rest of this is just pens, keychains, brush, nozzle. Okay, so if we have a hole in the roof, it will simulate a hole. You can do hole simulations. We say we got a hole there. Here's your tree branch come through, and you're like, oh man, I got a hole in my roof, it's leaking. So what you want to do? And it's raining out. Right now it's raining. You're like, crap, I gotta stop that leak. You want to get in there, and if you can't get that nozzle in there, don't worry about it. Make it a little bigger. What you try and do, you need to get up underneath the roofing. Like this. This is what we need to do. Get up underneath the roofing. Then you're going to take and you're going to put this up inside there, and you're going to squeeze, 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 squeeze. Hopefully this thing is plugged up. There it goes. Just squeeze, squeeze. You're going to try and get up underneath this part too. Squeeze up underneath there. Put some more underneath there. Well, we are getting this thing all boogered up. Then what we're gonna do, you're gonna push it together. See how it oozes out? That's sealed. You're done. This is a moisture cured product. So what? It's a hot mess. Looks terrible. Who cares? Keep the water out. So now, the next day, we're gonna go up there, and that's gonna be cured looking like that. So we're gonna take a knife, and you just shave it down. Just shave it down with a knife. I'm just gonna obviously wipe this off. Now you say, hey, I want something a little better than that. So what we're gonna do is get some cleaner. This is a terrible rag. You got another one. You got one on you? Oh, get a rag, get a rag, get a rag, get a rag, get a rag. Hey, what are you doing? What are you gonna talk about, man? Nope, just leave it alone. Oh, leave it alone right now. We're recording now? Are we on?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Alright, so now we cleaned it off with a knife. I just washed that off because it's still wet. Take that off. So now we got a patch. This is a peel and stick patch. We're going to take that, we're going to center it over there. Just take a pen and go around like this. I like to kind of put a dash like that so I know who's where, what, and where, and how. So now there's what I got. So in the package we got primer. We also have a brush. You're going to take that, you're going to go all inside the square. And you're also going to go outside this square about 3/8 of an inch. Outside about 3/8 of an inch or so. Once you get that, there's a film on the back. You peel the film, now you know which side you are, see, because there's your marks. And you peel that film back. Get the fingers in there to get the film off of this thing. This is just a regular roof tape. That's all it is. We put them in all the care packages. Get that daggone thing off of there. Probably need some fingernails. Probably help. Come on. There it is. Okay. There it is. Now you got the film. We'll take that film. So now we're going to line it back up with this. We already got the primer under there. You just peel the film back, and as you do, you just rub it down like this. Sometimes that film will get a little stuck in there. This is just a butyl. You just kind of try to keep it as even as you can and flat as you can. Boom, you're done. There it is. So now, out here, this is where your primer is. You put the primer on there. You got primer there, and now you're going to put primer here. You want to prime all this area with your brush. Prime all that. Then you're going to come back. Once you get it all primed, then you're going to put a little bit of caulking on it, just like this. That's simple. If it doesn't all sit in there, you can always take your finger and go around it if you want. We're trying to obviously stop a leak and make one of. There's going to be a little more permanent of a patch than just that plug that we did when it was raining. So now that we get that all done, the whole purpose of it is this part here. This part underneath here, that's a butyl. When the sun hits that, if you didn't have the caulking on there, it will cause it to release and curl up just like I'm doing here. And it'll start coming loose. That's why you need the primer. That's why when you prime it, you're going to prime on top of this because nothing will stick to it. Nothing, the caulking will not stick to this patch and it won't stick to the roof unless you use the primer. That's how you do a patch. Ta-da! All done.